Hey guys, as you might have guessed with the title of this video is that R12 has been released, and I wanted to do a quick update video on how to do a fresh install and a patch install, as well as just go over one more time the display setups. So let's just jump right into it. You'll see now that we have a link in our description to Mega, and or at least it'll take you to Mega. And it's going to kind of look like, what you see on the right here. I haven't actually updated Mega yet because right now when I'm doing this video, it has not been released. So you will see 5 folders. You're going to see a 1, 2, 3, 3, and 4. Number 1 is the install. Number 2 is our curated tables that, again, these tables don't get updated. This is just a starting point for you guys, just getting going with Pinball Emporium. We don't plan on updating tables. You'll need to install tables on your own. Following that is the cumulative update and the patch update. Patch update will be for anybody that is on the previous release. So in this case, if you are already on R11, you just need the patch update for R12. If you are doing a fresh install, you want to use the cumulative update because this will also include anything that was in R11. And this goes to whenever you're watching this video. So if it's, release 16, the cumulative update is going to also include 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So that's how updates are going to happen, at least for the foreseeable future. Following that are the media update packs that get released every once in a while. This is just a collection of all of them, so you don't have to go downloading each individual media separately. So this is how these are going to look for the foreseeable future. So once you've downloaded what you need, if you just need the patch update, really easy. But we're going to go over a full clean install. This is a brand new install of Windows that I just did. I just did a wipe of this computer. So let's get started. Minimize this. I'm going to make a new window. Now I have a Pinball Emporium folder because we're going to kind of do this like TV, where I've actually already done most of the work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the full install of R10, and I'm going to double click on part 1. Inside there, you will see a Pinball Emporium folder. At this point, you want to take this Pinball Emporium folder and drag it to the drive of your choice. So if you're installing it on the C drive, drag it to the C drive. If you're installing it somewhere else, where I'm installing it on the E drive, drag it to that folder. So we're going to just take it and we're going to drag it to, I'm going to drag it to my E drive, and I would let go, but I've already done this. So drag this folder to here. You will have a Pinball Emporium folder after that. That's going to take a little bit to extract. After that, if you so choose, go to the curated tables. We're going to just open up part 1, never open up any of the other parts. And from here, we're going to open up our Pinball Emporium folder. And in our emulators folder, we're going to make sure we drag this to an empty spot. We do not want to accidentally drag it onto the existing emulators folder. You're going to just take it from, I use WinRAR, just drag it into an empty spot and let go and let that do its install. Once that's complete, we're then going to either be using the cumulative or the patch update, depending on your situation. The easiest way to do this is take your update and drag the compressed file into the Pinball Emporium folder. At that point, I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to say extract here. Now it's going to tell me that there's duplicates because I've already done this today, or actually yesterday. But let this do its update. Pause the video so you don't have to sit through it. Okay, that has completed. We've extracted everything. Now because I did the cumulative update, we have just updated Pinball Emporium with R11 and R12. All right, final things. We have our updated media. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to drag those into here, into our Pinball Emporium folder. We're going to right click on them and say extract here. Say yes to all because everything already exists. All right, take those back out. Okay. And if we take a look at our README file, we can see that we are on R12. So let's go over a little bit of what is included in R12. First of all, the fixes. There are not too many fixes, which is a good thing. We want to have a nice, clean, setup prior to this, and luckily there was not too many bug issues in R11. What we did fix is there was an issue with the shadow pub pack. We fixed that. There's a small bug with inside the display setup for when you were doing a screen 2 setup, and honestly, unless you're going in and out of things like I would, you wouldn't notice it. And then finally, there was an issue with 3-screen setups if your playfield was not screen 1. We've noticed this a lot with ALP, the At Games Pinball Legends setup, that it did not set the playfield as display 1 and caused issues with this. So that's all taken care of in R12. As far as additions, we now have, we no longer are using Future DMD. We are now using DMD Text, or most people know it as DMD Freezy for Future Pinball. And again, let me emphasize, this does not work for every table. If the table supports it, it will use it. Otherwise, it will just give you a blank screen. I know some people think that it means it's broken. It doesn't. And unfortunately, there's not a way to turn on and off per table. As you might have guessed, the way we can do that is because we've updated to Freezy 1.9.0. We've also, need to update this text, updated Future Pinball BAM to 1.5-337. The only way you will get that update is if you rerun the install, by the way. We've added a last play menu image in here. That can be added through the control setup if you would like to. We've also added from Rajo Joey, we've added POV files. So we've introduced POV files inside of Visual Pinball X, and you'll be able to see them. They're now a third file in here. So you'll now have a POV file and a VPX file and a direct B2S file. If you decide to add additional tables than what we have additional POV files. Just find them in here, check them. Not all of them work all the time, but most of them do. Okay, so head on back out. Next up, we've updated the back end of the front end to 10.21, nothing you would notice. A big request that is finally getting released in release 12 is direct output and DOF-Link. So we are adding direct output R3++ and DOF-Link 7.33, which will allow you to do a lot of extra stuff with cabinets, including surround sound feedback and some other things. Some of those other things that we are including, actually one of those other things that we're including is direct B2S backlash for FX3. So we will now have animated, or what's considered animated backlash for FX3 tables included. We've also created a shortcut for DOF-Link, so make sure you do that kind of stuff. And we've updated a pinup player to 1.4.6. If you are someone who just wants to go do your, here's just a couple notes. Make sure for Future Pinball, you need to run the display setup. If you are installing DOF-Links, make sure you go through the installer. You'll need to do that for Future Pinball and DOF-Links. And also make sure you run the remove unneeded files bat for R12. So that's what's new in R12. Let's get this installed. So the first thing we're going to do, just as we read in the release notes, is we're going to go to the remove unneeded files. So this will remove all unneeded files that may still be on your system. We're going to hit yes. The first thing we need to do is we're going to delete all the background images for FX3. So I need to find my FX3 location, or my Steam location. I'm sorry, don't find your FX3. Now, I technically do not have those on here, but we're going to do it anyway. And it just removed a bunch of files that you guys didn't notice. And that's it. We've removed all unnecessary files. You can now delete this bad file. Rerun the display setup after this. All right. We can delete that file now. Now let's go run through the install. We're going to head into our installer folder. Installer. We're going to stick this in the corner. And I'm going to do a full install since this is a brand new install. We have an uninstaller for if you are using another form of pinball, like Popper or anything like that. This will remove all unnecessary files. Or I'm sorry, not unnecessary files. All old files that may screw up during the Reddit or reg edit. Sorry, still early in my coffee to talk this much. But what's nice about this is if when you run this install, if you decide to go back, it has created a backup folder that will save this information. So you can always restore your previous settings. All right. I don't need to do anything in here, so I'm just going to hit exit. Have you downloaded and installed Steam? Yes, we have. And logged into Steam. Yes, we have. Have you downloaded, installed, and ran FX3 and Zaccaria Pinball at least once? So we're going to go, oops. Sorry, I'm on a Mac using Mac key commands. Can I put this down here? Oh, it's extra big for some reason. All right, so we have Zaccaria and FX3 installed. We're going to run these just once. To what this is going to do is set up the install files or the setting files. Maybe. There it goes. Okay. We're going to click on here. And then we're going to exit. All right, same thing with FX3. The other thing you're going to do while loading in FX3 is enter in your cabinet code. You can get this from Zen Studios. They offer it for free. We have a link in our Discord. Okay, for some reason, it doesn't like me streaming. I have already done this, so I'm just going to skip it. I don't know why. It freaks out. But I swear I've already done this. I've already installed and entered in my cabinet code for FX3. I don't know what's going on. But before I ran this, I already did this. Okay, so we're going to say I've done that for FX3. All right. We're going to open up another Finder window because I know I'm going to need it. All right, have you downloaded, installed, and ran FX3 and or Zaccaria Pinball at least once? We have. All right. Okay, so we're going to drag our Steam folder in here and make sure it's the Steam folder and not, if you keep your games in a separate location, we want the Steam folder of where the executable is. So mine is in my C drive, so I'm going to drag that up here. Hit enter. All right. And will this be for a cabinet or a desktop? Now, this is during the install. This is the only time that you guys can change what you're doing. So if you're doing a desktop, hit D. If you're doing a cabinet, hit C. Pretty simple in that. So we're gonna hit C for cabinet because that's how I'm setting this up. If you're just doing desktop, hit D. And we're gonna hit enter. Okay, next up is your Steam library folder. So if this is located, so I have another Steam library folder, and you may be like this too. Like I have one here on my D drive. So if you store your game somewhere else, this is the folder you're going to drag here. Now I did install Zaccaria and FX3 on my C drive, so I'm actually just going to drag the exact same folder, as most of you probably will, there. So, and there we go. We have installed FX2, FX3, and Zaccaria. We're going to continue. Next up is Future Pinball and BAM. All right. At the end of the install, it will ask you if you'd like to launch BAM. Hit yes. Launch BAM and then exit the program. All right. When prompted, install Future Pinball in the Pinball Emporium folder. It gives you the location. Not only does it give you the location of where it should be installed, we've actually copied that location to the clipboard. So all you need to do is hit Control V for the location. So I'm going to hit enter, and we're going to start the install. Oop. It gave me a pop-up. Let me fix that pop-up so you guys can see it. If you don't know about this, you can type in UAC into there. I'm going to set this to the second to the lowest. And now the screen won't go black every time there's a warning pop up. All right, I accept the agreement. I accept. So here is where we're going to replace it. I'm going to hit Control V, and there is my line of install. I'm going to hit next. Yes, this folder exists, we know. We're going to do a standard install. I don't want a start menu. And we're going to hit next. I don't want a desktop. Let this do the install. Take a sip of coffee. All right, just as I said, make sure it launches BAM. This is going to write some files that we need to overwrite later, but it will cause issues if you don't write them the first time. Okay, we're going to close Future Pinball. It knows we just did that. It's waiting. I think it's waiting. That's weird. We'll just hit enter. We don't care. All right, ready to run Future Pinball. Once the table runs, exit the table and exit Future Pinball. All we're going to do is let Future Pinball load, and then we're going to hit escape and let it and exit. Now I turned off the sound for this table, otherwise it gets flagged as copyright infringement. So, although you can probably hear it over my microphone. There we go. Okay. The table's launched, things are moving. That's what we want to see. We want to make sure we see movement on the table. I'm going to hit escape. Try that one more time. Escape. All right. Has Future Pinball run the table and you've exited? Yes, we have. We're going to hit enter. We're going to hit yes to the registry edit. Yes, we agree. All that kind of stuff. All right, that's it. Future Pinball's done. Visual Pinball X is next. We're going to hit enter. During the DirectX part, be sure to uncheck install Bing Toolbar. Nobody wants Bing Toolbar. All right, same thing as before. Here's our install location, and we've saved it to your clipboard. We're going to hit enter. We're going to hit yes. Next, I'm going to hit Control V. Hit next, install. And even if you know, unless you have a PinDMD, you want to just keep following along. Desktop, 1 screen, 2 screen, 3 screen, whatever. Do not deviate from what I'm showing you. Oh, why can't I click agreement? Come on. Oh, I think I held a button. Hold on, stand by. All right, hit accept. I can't talk right now. And let's hit next. Maybe. My computer's been acting really strange lately. There you go. I'm doing this remotely, so. All right. There we go. Installing DirectX, or whatever it's doing. Why are you being weird? Okay, that's done. All right. It's installing Ultra DMD. All right. Whether you have a second monitor or not, I want you to hit yes. 1 monitor, 2 monitor, 3 monitor, hit yes. Do not deviate from this. We will take care of that information, that setup part later. Seriously, what is going on with my system? Okay, I don't know. My system's being weird right now. I hate doing this during I think it has something to do with my screen sharing. Hold on. Okay, all fixed. Now I can click again. See, even I have issues sometimes. Something about the right click. Again, that has nothing to do with my screen sharing. It has nothing to do with the build. All right, we're going to hit next. Just like Future Pinball, we're going to run Visual Pinball X and then exit. So you'll get this error, the latest version of blah, blah, blah. We don't care. Are you able? Yes, I am. There we go. Sorry, it's hard to see my mouse sometimes. This is a lot easier to click on when you have a remote desktop, because I can see my mouse on my side. If I switch over, so here, see, I can see my mouse because I'm using remote desktop. All right, back over here. Yes, I'm old enough, blah, blah, blah. And we're just going to launch a table really quick. And then guess what? We're going to exit it. Everything's moving. We hit escape. We're good to go. Let my window kick back in. All right. We're going to hit enter. Yes, we want to make some changes. Hit yes again. And hit OK. All right. Like I said before, we have not done anything differently between the people that are doing desktop, 1 screen, 2 screen, 3 screen, except for that very beginning part at for FX3. Everything else is the same so far. Do not think that you should be doing something differently or trying something differently. Keep following along. All right, we're going to install Pinup Player. You're going to get 2 warnings. There's 1. There's number 2. And we hit OK. All right. Oh, well, you get to see the DOF-Link stuff. So it's installing DOF-Link setup. And that's it. We've installed DOF-Links. All right, shortcuts. These are very important. Shortcuts for Pinball Emporium, Joy to Key, and DOF-Links have been added to your Pinball Emporium folder and your desktop. So if we look in here, we now have DOF-Links, Joy to Key, and Pinball Emporium. Now it's going to ask you, and you should see them on your desktop too. It's going to ask you if you want to add them to the startup. You will, if this is your cabinet, you will most likely want to add all these to the startup. But we have 3 options here for you. You can add all the programs to the startup, just add Pinball Emporium to the startup, or don't add anything. Now you need, if you're using DOF-Links, you want that to go into your startup folder. If you're using Joy to Key, you want that to start up prior to all the stuff. So I'm going to tell it to do all 3. Nope, let's try that again. All 3, it's option 1. All right, shortcuts have been created. We're now going to set up displays. So at this point, we're going to deviate, depending on who you are, we're going to deviate from our setups. So if you are a desktop user and you're doing, we're going to say desktop users, single or dual screen desktop users, stick around because we're going to do your setups. If you're a cabinet user, go to, look in the description below. There'll be a time code for those people's setup. So find your setup and jump to that time. But if you're a desktop user and you're a single or dual screen desktop user, stick around. Okay, for my desktop users, we're gonna hit, this is strictly if you're using a horizontal screen. So, I mean, if you're sitting at a desktop and it's doing vertical and you're doing vertical, you're a cabinet user. You're not a desktop user. So we're gonna hit D for desktop. Do you need help determining your display ID numbers? If you are using more than 2 screens, you want to hit yes. So single screen users, skip this or whatever, but we're going to switch over to, I'm going to switch over to a dual screen view. Okay, so as you see, I have my main play field, and then my back glass in my bottom right-hand corner. So it's quite easy if you're doing 1 screen. What we'll just, you know, we'll just run through that really quick. If you're doing one screen, you can skip this. Your display number is 1. So I'm going to hit no. And to that point, let's just get rid of the back glass. All right. So here's your 2 options: monitor 1 playfield, monitor 2 back glass. If you are doing a single playfield, there's a lot of things that are not active. So you may want to like not have DoffLink start up, because it's not going to really benefit you. So we're going to hit 1. Before you continue, let's check some common display issues. Now again, I have 2 displays here, even though we're not doing that. We're going to just put this in the corner. We just do this. There we go. Okay. So are your monitors set to left or right? Well, you only have a single monitor, so we're going to hit yes. Is each monitor scaled to 100%? This is important for everybody, so we're going to look. Yes, my monitor is scaled to 100%. Is your playfield your main display? Obviously, you have a single display, so yes. Are all monitors set up as landscape, no matter what kind of setup? Whether you're doing desktop or cabinet, they're always set up as landscape. Are all monitors edge to edge? You're just on a single display. We're going to hit yes. Do you know your display numbers? You're doing a single monitor. You know your display number. It's 1. All right. So we're going to type in our resolution. My resolution is 1920 by 1080. Is it correct? Orientation, desktop, playfield, 1920 by 1080. Yes. All right. If you are not using everything, you can do just run through the items you want to go through. But to make this simple, I'm going to just say I'm doing all programs. Sorry if you guys hear stuff in the background. The garbage truck just got here. All right. So I'm going to hit 1 for all programs. And we're going to sit here and drink some coffee. We're going to hit yes to the registry edit. That's it. You guys have just set up Pinball Emporium for a single desktop user. So we're going to hit 9 for exit. Press any key. We're at the installer. We're going to hit 0 to exit now. And that's it. If I launch Pinball Emporium now. See that awesome video. There you go. You guys are all set up. You are ready to go. As a single desktop user, you are set up to go. If we, let's launch a future pinball table. You may not see it. Let's see. There you go. Now, specifically for future pinball, it gets. Let me get flagged. Okay. The music's off. All right. So one thing you're just going to have to deal with is that your start button and the camera is set up on the same keyboard. You can go into the controller settings and change this, but just to make life easier on everything, this is just what we had to do. But yep, there we go. We're playing. Hopefully that doesn't get flagged. All right. My desktop users, you guys are done. Go play. Yeah. Okay, we're back at the, we just finished the desktop single users. Now we're going to do our, what are we doing now? Desktop multi-screen users. So we're already on number 9. Okay. So for my desktop dual screen users, we're going to run this display setup. And actually, I need to turn back on my backglass so you guys can see everything. So we're going to hit yes, just to be safe. Because sometimes these display numbers are wrong. All right. This is going to help you determine which monitor is which. So I'm going to just, we're going to, we have a 50-50 set chance of what's going to happen. So I just want it to launch on display 2 so I know which one's display 2. Because I can just pretty much assume that whatever is display 1 is the other one. All right, and as you can see, in the bottom right-hand corner of my back glass is where it's launching. So that is display 2. Windows is actually correct. Do not always believe these numbers because it's not, oh, you can't see that. Do not always believe what Windows display setting says because it's not always correct. So there we go. Now you can see what I'm looking at. All right, so let's get back to Visual Pinball. Close that out. All right, we're done. We have all the information. All right. As we said, we are a 2-monitor setup, so we're going to hit option 2. And actually, I just opened up the display settings one more time. All right, time to go over the common issues. Are all your monitors set up left to right? Play field, and back glass. It says DMD topper, but that's just because it says that for everything. So play field and back glass, we're only doing two monitors, so that's the only thing. Play field on the left, back glass on the right. That's all we want. Yes, they are. Is each monitor scaled to 100%? So if we look down here, my monitor 1 is scaled to 100%. My monitor 2 is scaled to 150%. I'm going to change that to 100%. So now it is. If it's not, hit no and change it. It's going to it'll open this up and help you. But now it is. Is your playfield your main display? So we're going to click on our number 1 and we're going to scroll down, make this my main display. It's already grayed out. That means it's correct. Are all your monitors set up the landscape no matter what kind of setup you're doing? So even though we're doing desktop or cabinet, we're always going to be a landscape monitors. Yes, they are. Are all the monitors lined up at the top edge? Of course. Well, not of course, but make sure they are. All right. Do you know your display numbers? We just checked that. We know display 1 is our playfield and display 2 is our back glass. Yes, we do. All right. So what is the resolution of my playfield? It's 1920 by 1080. Followed by, we know it's display number 1. And our back glass is 1920 by 1080. And you just enter in whatever numbers you need to enter. Okay. And we know it's number 2. Double check, 1920 by 1080, number 1, 1920 by 1080, number 2, orientation is desktop. Hit yes, okay. And we're just gonna run through all the programs and let it do its thing. So I'm gonna hit number 1. All right, FX2 has to be manually entered in, but I'm so nice that I give you the information for that. All right, it's gonna do its thing. We're gonna hit yes, yes. All right. DMD device also needs to be set up manually. So we're gonna hit yes. It's gonna load up the text document and it's gonna load up a setup or a Google Sheet. So surprisingly, my numbers are already in here, but just enter in your information as it seems fit. I'm gonna hit, actually I'll just do edit. Where is select all? Select all's not on here. That's weird. All right. Control A. Nope. A. There we go. A. One more time. Okay. So we select everything. That's weird. That's not there. And there we go. We're gonna hit Command C. Command Control C. We're gonna go to the bottom of here of our display a DMD device.ini and paste that in here. I'm going to hit save, Command S. Keep saying Command, Control S. Keep forgetting that I'm on a Windows machine. Okay, we're going to minimize that. All right, there are 2 types of install options for the back glass depending on your setup. Let's see which one works for you. It's going to launch a table with the back glass. If it's correct, you're going to hit yes after exiting. If it does not, you're going to hit no. There's only 2 options. So if your answer is no, it knows to do option 2. So it's just going to keep moving on. It's not going to launch it again. So I know some people thought it would. It's not going to. So I'm going to hit enter. It's going to launch a table. There we go. Okay, my backglass looks correct. My playfield looks correct. If you do not see your backglass correctly in your backglass monitor, remember that, because your answer to the next question is going to be no. Mine is happens to be yes. Okay, backglass is all set up, and we are pretty much done. It's going to do some other things, but we're good to go. We're going to exit now. We're going to exit out of the installer. And now if we launch Pinball Emporium, and after this loads, I'm going to mute it because I don't want to get flagged. But there we go. We're all set up. If I go jump over to a table, oop, I clicked on something. There we go. So let's load up GoldenEye. And there we go. Our backglass is in our bottom right-hand corner. Well, no, it's on our backglass is on our backglass. For this example, it's in the bottom right-hand corner. You can see the DMD is in the correct spot, and our playfield is ready to go. That's it. Desktop 2-screen users, you guys are ready to go. Go play some pinball. Have fun. All right, next up is our cabinet users. So we just finished all the desktop users. We're now into the cabinet users. If you are a single screen cabinet user, you're not going to get all the benefits. Unfortunately, it's just not all, like FX3 and Zaccaria tables are made great for single screen users, single screen cabinet users. But as far as Visual Pinball X and Future Pinball, they're just not made that well for single screen cabinet users. So I'm talking to you guys right now, for the single screen cabinet users, I highly recommend you guys use something like, if you see, let's see, I think I got it down here, Splash Top X Display. This allows you to use a tablet or phone as a secondary display. I highly recommend it, just to be able to have all the extra stuff. You can just plug in your phone, you know, the one you always use. I use a 2013 Android device as my second back or my third screen. But I highly recommend you doing this rather than trying to run this in single screen cabinet mode. So I'm not going to run through that. You guys can run through that if you so choose. It'll actually give you a warning. So if I say I'm doing a cabinet one screen, you know, this is not an ideal setup. And I even tell you to use X display. Man, that's a loud garbage truck, if you guys can hear that. So if you so choose, run through the setup. It will help you get through this, but I highly recommend you guys use some sort of secondary display. All right, my cabinet 2-screen users, which are probably the majority of you guys out there. So we're here. We're going to choose cabinet. Do you need help determining your display ID numbers? I highly recommend you do this because Windows display settings are not always correct. So luckily you only have 2 screens, so you kind of only have to do this once. So I'm going to say, I want you to launch number 2. And as you can see in the bottom corner is my backglass. And I'm assuming that is our backglass, but it could be our playfield. So we've just determined that display 2 is our backglass, which is good to know. I'm gonna hit escape. All right, so we know our playfield is 1 and our backglass is 2. Depending on what your setup is, you will determine those numbers for yourself. All right, so option 2 is for us. We have one monitor for our playfield. We have one monitor for our back glass. All right, now it's going to go over some of the common issues. If I can get this to load correctly. There we go. Please go through these. 92% of issues are because of what it's about to go through with you. So, are your monitors set up left to right? Playfield on the left, back glass, then DMD topper. You guys aren't using a DMD topper. I need to remove that from here. Hopefully by the time you guys are viewing this, you will not see that. Depending on the setup, I can't remember if I can do that or not. It might be have to stay that way. Either way, from your left is your playfield, to the right of that is your back glass, and if you were using a third screen, to the right of that is your DMD topper. So we know we're good for that. Is each monitor scaled to 100%? One is, we can look and we can see 100%. We click on 2 and it's 100%. My defaulted to 150%. When I was doing the desktop users, I changed that actually. So, is your playfield your main display? So if we click on number 1 here, and we can see it is set up to the main display. So my answer is yes. Are all your monitors set to landscape no matter what? Even if you're cabinet users, do not rotate your monitors. Are all your monitors top edge lined up? So we don't want it to be like that, you know. We want them to be lined up perfectly on top. Yes. Do we know our display ID numbers? This is the second time it's asking this because it's very important. Yes. Okay. So, time to enter in all the information. I have a 1920 by 1080 display 1 playfield. I have a 1920 as well by 1080 display 2 back glass. You enter your information as, however your setup is. We're going to hit yes. Now I'm doing all programs, so I want this to just do everything for me, and I want to sit back and do nothing. So I'm going to hit yes. As far as Pinball FX2, this information needs to be entered in manually. So I'm giving you the information right here to take care of that. Just write that down or come back here next time you're setting up FX2. I'm gonna hit yes. All right, DMD device INI also needs to be filled out manually. So my information is already in here. I'm gonna hit Control A one more time to select all of it. I'm gonna hit copy, Command or Control C, and we're gonna scroll down to the bottom of the device DMD device.ini, and I'm gonna hit Control V to paste it. Control S to save, and we're gonna close out of this. And I'm going to close out of that. All right. There are 2 types of install for the back glass, depending on your setup. Let's see which one works. It's going to load one. If it's not the first one, it's obviously the second one. So it's not going to load it a second time. So we're going to, well, I don't care if it's sideways right now. All right. So if your back glass loads correctly on the second monitor, your answer is going to be yes. If it does not, your answer is going to be no. So as you can see, my back glass is on my second monitor. My playfield is on my first monitor. So we're good to go. My answer is yes. If yours did not look like mine, hit no. All right, back glass is all set up. Another bunch of writing, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. We're done. We have now set up, 100+ tables for dual screen setup. We're gonna hit 0 to exit. If you're using DOF links or Joy to Key, this is when you would want to launch those. I'm not going to show that right now. We're just going to launch Pinball Emporium so you can see this working. We're going to flip my monitors. Let's see, cabinet 2. There we go. We're going to launch Pinball Emporium. There we go. We are good to go. Oop, I gotta scroll over here. Now, you're not hearing music because I just don't want to get flagged for whatever reason. But, you know, here's our tables. We're ready to go. You know, let's load up Ace Ventura. That's weird. Why did that do that? It did not rotate my displays. Uh-huh. Now the question is, it's just Visual Pinball X. Okay. Interesting. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I know I said I was loading Ace Ventura, but I ended up loading GoldenEye. There was an issue, but it was not. It was my issue. With the remote desktop, sometimes it thinks I'm holding Shift down, and it will then load the desktop version of the table. I'm not sure why that's a thing, but so there we go. Table's fine. Oh, that was close. And we're ready to go. But not only are we ready to go, you're ready to go. Go play some pinball. You now have a 2-screen setup. Don't forget to launch, pre-launch Steam and pre-launch DOF links if you're using that, as well as Joy to Key. So, all right, table 2-screen setup people, you are ready to go. All right, it's time for our 3-screen setup people. This is meant for cabinet users that are using 3 16:9 screens for their displays, or at least something similar to that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check display ID numbers. So I'm going to switch this over so we can see all 3 of my screens. And we're going to choose yes. We want to check. All right. So we're going to assume if we can get 2 of these correct, we know what the third one is. So I'm going to first check display 2 and see which one launches. Now, in my little view here, the left monitor is obviously the playfield, the top right is the back glass, and the bottom right is the topper and DMD. All right, so number 2 for me is the back glass. Now, why this is important to realize is that if we look at my display settings, you can see my back glass is labeled 3. Windows is not correct in this sense. Do not listen to what Windows says. All right, so we know my back glass is number 3. I'm gonna exit out of that. I'm gonna try to exit out of that. There we go. All right, so we checked, we know back glass is display 2. Now we're gonna check display 3. All right, and display 3 goes down to my DMD backglass monitor, which is exactly what we're looking for. All right, and then we can assume that display 1 is the playfield. So mine, although my Windows thinks my monitors are set up 1, 3, 2, they are actually set up 1, 2, 3. So we are choosing option 3 here because our third monitor is a DMD and topper. The only reason you would choose 4 is if you have an extra wide third monitor, so a DMD only specific monitor. So we're gonna hit number 3. And now we're gonna go over some common issues that may come up. So please go over these. Most of the time, these are the reason things are out of whack. So are your monitors set up left to right? Playfield, backglass, topper, and or DMD? Yes, they are. Even though my numbers are not correct, the physical placement is. Is your monitor all set to 100%? So if I click on 1, I can see it's 100%. If I click on backglass, 100%. And if I click on DMD topper, it's 100% as well. Is your playfield your main display? So if we click on our main display and scroll down, we can see make this my main display is checked. So we're good there. Are all your monitors set to landscape? So even though we're doing a cabinet mode, all of our monitors are set to landscape. That's correct. Are all your monitors top edge lined up? So we want this top edge to be lined up. We don't want a monitor to be like that. We want them all to be lined up on the top. And do we know our display IDs? We do. We just checked them. If you didn't, hit no, get your display IDs. Don't trust what Windows says because obviously mine are wrong. So we can close this down since I know all my information. So my playfield width is 1920, height 1080. We know it's number 1. 1920 by 1080, number 2, even though Windows says it's number 3, that's wrong. And 1920 by 1200, and that's number 3. All right, is the above information correct? It looks correct to me. Let's move on. All right. I'm setting up for all programs, so we're going to just easily do this and choose the all programs option. It's going to write a bunch of files. It's going to bring us to FX2 where you need to manually enter in this information. So write this information down or come back later and do it. And obviously that's my information. Your monitors are probably different. Okay, we're going to hit yes to write some registry edits. All right, there are 2 types of installs for backglass depending on your setup. We're about to launch to check the first one. If it's not the first one, you're gonna say no. If it does not look correct, you're gonna say no. It's gonna make it do the second option and just move on. It's not gonna show you another show you to check again. So we're gonna hit yes, and I'm gonna switch my displays over again so you can see what's going on. Now, as long as the backglass appears in the top right, we're good to go. Or my screen goes black. Okay, we have our playfield, we have our backglass, and our even DMD even popped up in the right place. If your backglass does not look like mine, you're going to choose the option no after this. Mine looks good though. Oops, no, that's wrong. All right, yes, everything looked good. All right, let's do some more writing. There we go. That's it, guys. We are done. We are ready to go. I'm going to hit exit. We're done with display setup. I'm going to exit the install. I'm going to minimize what I was working on earlier. And we're going to launch Pinball Emporium. Version 12. And there we go, guys. Now there's one little extra bit. So right now, my animated marquee is appearing on my backglass. And you can see every time I switch, oops, I'm on the wrong thing. Every time I switch tables, the top marquee plays its little animation and continues. If that animation is on the bottom, so if that animation is happening on your DMD, what I need you to do is I need you to exit Pinball Emporium. Let's get you back to my screen. We're going to go into the root folder of Pinball Emporium. Now this is only if your marquee animation is appearing on your DMD screen, DMD topper, instead of your backglass. We're going to right click on settings. You can open this in Notepad. I had Notepad++ on this computer, so I'm just going to open it up on that. And all we're going to do is we have our full screen 1 and full screen 2, or I should say our screen number 1 and our screen number 2. And what you're going to do is you're going to change this. We're going to swap those two numbers. We're going to change number 1 to 2 and number 2 to 1. And you need to do this because otherwise it's going to mess up toppers for other tables, not just the menu. So even if you like the marquees on the bottom, unfortunately they need to be on the back glass because otherwise it's going to screw up things for your toppers for other tables. But that is only if the animated marquee only is appearing on your DMD topper screen instead of your back glass screen. You would change those two numbers. 1 would be 2, 2 would be 1, 0 is 0. So we're going to close that. Oop, I hope that didn't save. Let's just make sure it didn't save. Okay, don't save. All right, let's jump back in here. And there we go. So my playfield's a little squished, but I swear it's normal. So jump into Terminator. I forgot if Terminator is a pub pack or not. We're about to find out. No, just a regular table, but it's an Ultra DMD table. So there we go. We are going 100%. Sorry, you guys can't hear the volume. I don't want this video to get flagged because of copyrighted material. But there we go, guys. My 3-screen people, you guys are ready to go with new R12 for Pinball Emporium. Go play some pinball. Find me in the Discord, and I'll talk to you soon. All right. Last but not least, our 3-screen Pinball Emporium users with the ultra wide DMD. So if you're using one of those, it's like a 1280 by 360 screen, it'll look like really, like I'm going to show mine is really squished, but it's going to look, it's a very squished screen like that. So this is not for the Pin DMD people. It's just for people using the ultra wide DMD or ultra wide screens for DMD purposes. So let's jump back into our install because I was just doing everybody else's install, and you guys unfortunately last, but certainly not least. So we're going to choose our cabinet. We do want to check our display IDs. You want to check these things because Windows is not correct usually most of the time. So I'm going to move this over here. And now I'm going to launch display 2. Actually, I'm going to change my screen so you guys can see mine. So I'm going to launch display 2 because once we figure out 2 of the monitors, we obviously know what the 3rd monitor is. Oop, just ignore Pinball Emporium on the back. Okay, I got a really squished DMD, but that's because I was doing stuff earlier. So we know back glass is display 2. We can exit out of that. Let's launch monitor 3. All right, monitor 3 is DMD. And the reason why this is important to know is because if we jump back to Windows display settings, you can see it thinks my monitor 3 is my back glass and monitor 2 is my DMD. That is not the case. Monitor 2 is back glass and monitor 3 is DMD. So those numbers are incorrect. That's why we have this here to help you guys get correct numbers. So we're going to choose option 4 and we're going to crank through this. All right. So we're going to move this to the side. Please go through these checks. 92% of the things that are wrong are usually can be fixed by just making sure all this is correct. So Are your monitors set up left to right? Playfield, backglass, for your case, DMD. Mine are. We're going to hit yes. Is each monitor scaled to 100%? We can see down here it's 100%, 100%, 100%. We're going to hit yes. Is your playfield the main display? We click on our playfield and scroll down. We can see that it certainly is our main display. Are all your monitors set to landscape, no matter what kind of setup? Even though we're doing a cabinet, we want all monitors to be landscape. Are all the monitors lined up at the top edge? You want this top edge of your monitors to all be the same, so you don't want your stuff like looking like that. You want everything on the top to be lined up. Do we know our display numbers? We check that. If you didn't check that, if you just like figured you're correct, do it anyway. All right, so we're going to type in our information, 1920 by 1080. It's display 1, 1920 by 1080. Now again, it says display 3, but it's actually display 2. Don't listen to what Windows says. And you would type in your whatever your DMD is. So, 1280 by 360. But since I'm kind of faking this with my third monitor, I'm going to type in the actual resolution because it stretches things to make things work. So it will look correct when we do all this. All right, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 1920 by 1080, 1920 by 1080, 1920 by 1200. Yours will be a little smaller than that. And we're simply going to set this up for all the programs. We're going to hit 1 and let it do its magic. So FX2 needs manually setting, so make sure you write down these numbers or come back and get them later to set up FX2. We're going to do its thing. It's going to do some registry edits. All right, there are 2 setups for backglass. It's going to test the first one. If it's not the first one, it's obviously the second one. It's not going to load a second time when you choose no. So I'm going to hit enter to have it load the option. We're going to look at our setup. And there we go. Our backglass is on the correct monitor. If your backglass does not look like mine, you are going to choose no. Your answer to the next question is no, it does not look correct. And it's going to make the changes it needs to and move on. It's not going to show you again. Mine looks correct, so I'm going to hit yes. All right, backglass set up. Do a bunch of writing so you don't have to. And we're done. We are absolutely done, guys. You are all set up. We can exit here. Display mode, exit the install, and now let's launch Pinball Emporium. I have a link on my desktop. We're just going to click on that. Oop, we want to load up all our streams. Oh, we're already on our stream. Sorry, I didn't switch it over when I was finishing that up. And there we go. We got a nice topper image on below. We got our backglass image on top. If those 2 images are switched, if the marquee, the animated marquee up there is on the DMD glass instead of the backglass, we're going to exit out of Pinball Emporium and we're going to go to the root folder of Pinball Emporium and look for the settings.config. Now you can edit this in Notepad. I have Notepad++, so that's where I'm doing it. We're going to look for the screen number 1 and screen number 2. At that point, you're going to swap those 2 numbers. Screen number 2 is going to become 1, 2 is going to become 1. So that will help fix the topper issue. Only do that if your marquees appear on your backglass screen. So I'm going to hit no because I don't have that issue. And let's jump back into Pinball Emporium. Cool. Guys, that's just rude of me. I'm really bad at switching monitors. So, remember everything I just said. Now you can actually read it without turning your head sideways. Find screen 1, 1, screen 2, and swap these numbers. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 1. I'm sorry about that, guys. So, again, I don't have this issue, so I'm going to not save. And now I'm going to jump back into Pinball Emporium. My bad. Now we can like load a table like GoldenEye. The sound is off. I don't want anything to get flagged by accident. So you're not going to hear any sound. But we got that nice topper image that's going to disappear in a second because we have DMD to go down there for you. So you guys are all set, guys. Everything's ready to go for you. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments and in the Discord. I will see you shortly. I will see you guys in the Discord. Enjoy all the new features. Have fun and have a good night.